Hello, dear viewers. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to read on the Great Resignation because this is perplexing people, apparently business owners, who are wondering why people aren't coming back to work in droves. And they thought it was because of unemployment, and maybe that had something to do with some people's reasons, but that expired a month ago, the federal unemployment benefits. So now people are relying on their state unemployment benefits if they get that. And state unemployment benefits are usually sort of somewhere near half of what they were making. So let's read on the reasons for this. I've got some ideas, but let's read on the reasons for this. Oh, and by the way, I touched on this in that pop-up live video I did late last month, and I think I was misunderstood, and I understand why. I listened to the video. It sounded like what I was saying, I have no patience for they don't want to work. What I meant is I have no patience for the sentiment no one wants to work. That's what I have no patience for. Because if an employer is not getting people applying for their jobs, I feel like it's whiny to say, well, no one wants to work. Well, the fact of the matter is you aren't providing, the employers are not providing an attractive enough package. And that's the truth. And I do feel bad for our small business owners, though, in the U.S., because they're competing against the Walmarts of the world. And their profit margin is so slim because of other unfair kinds of rules and laws that have favored big business that, they have a tough time. They have a tough time. So, I'm talking about the large corporations. They should be paying, according to one analyst, $26 an hour minimum wage, had minimum wage in the U.S. kept up with inflation. $26 an hour. And that might even be conservative because people say that the way the U.S. figures inflation has changed over the years to become a little, they've dropped this out of it and they've dropped that out of it as if they are not living expenses. So it's not so accurate anyway. It's probably higher than those numbers are anyway. So the American worker should probably be making even more than $26 an hour minimum wage. So there's that. We know that much. But let us see. I want to read on this, the Great Resignation. What is that all about? And I know people have, we'll just start pulling cards and we'll see. Okay. Well, we've got the 7 of coins. So some of it is, hey, I don't make enough money. Some of it is that. But that's also the harvest is rich, but the worker's not satisfied. I always feel like this card, like she doesn't get to take it all home, or there's something about the work that's just really unsatisfying to her. She doesn't like it, tiring maybe. So that can be about that. I don't know if people, I always hear these experts on TV taking guesses at this as if there were fair labor laws and fair labor practices in the U.S. There are fair labor laws. They are outdated, and many companies have learned how to get around them. Frankly, a lot of these jobs are just horrible to have. They're just horrible to have. And, in the U.S., we have all this work ethic, oh, you've got to work hard, don't be lazy, all that stuff. But, that takes people only so far before they say, okay, but I've got to have a schedule that's realistic too. Productivity by the U.S. worker has gone up and up and up and up. And in about every field, you will hear about your productivity expectations. That's a new thing in the last 10 years, 15 years. So things have changed. And not only that, but that there are computer programs keeping track of your productivity. If you work for Amazon, they're going to keep track of your time off task. You get 5 minutes, or maybe it's 10, I don't know. But you get a little bit of time to go to the restroom, and that's that. God forbid you have a problem, or God forbid the restroom is at the other end of the warehouse. So it's stuff like that. They're just cracking the whip, man. They're just cracking the whip in a lot of places. And salaried positions. A lot of white collar jobs have really been gutted too, because the position is salaried, so they are exempt from paying time and a half after 40 hours. That's a fair labor law in the U.S., but they don't have to do it if you're salaried. The idea is we give you this much work, and the job is to do that much work, and it should be about 40 hours a week, and it's up to you. Well, how can that be when productivity expectations have raised and raised and raised and raised? So a lot of salaried professionals are doing a job and a half, or they're doing double the work that was done 20 years ago. And a lot of times they're doing it in 60 hours, 50 to 60 to 70 hours, not 40. So that's just been abused. That exemption has just been abused. President Obama had wanted to update that. For salaried professionals making $48,000 a year or less, he wanted to get rid of that exemption. It never went through because he had a Republican Senate by that time. He only had the Democratic House and Senate in the first 2 years of his term. So had he known, maybe there would have been a lot more done. Who knows? Anyway, fair labor laws. Are these jobs going to become more workable? Oh, I also wanted to mention, again, I mentioned in the live stream, a lot of customer service kinds of jobs or hospitality jobs have gotten unworkable because the customer is always right. You know what I mean? I mean, they're expected to take all kinds of stuff. That's a weird norm, but that too is about make the money for the boss, isn't it? No matter what it costs you. So that too is a fair labor issue. Okay, do we get any improvement in fair labor laws? 8 of Wands. There are a lot of initiatives moving forward to do different things. Okay. But you know what I feel like? I feel like I don't know if that's fair labor laws or if that's just things that industry is going to have to come up with to attract workers. I mean, are they ever going to have to say, okay, we have to cut our productivity expectations, or we have to have more worker-friendly policies? Are they going to do that? Queen of Coins. Yeah, I don't like that. It's just because a lot of times she's come to mean a kind of wealthy person in my readings in my political kinds of readings who would donate to campaigns by conservative Republicans and all that stuff. Gradually. Okay, what I think I'm hearing is we've begun. There are a lot of things being identified, sometimes by industry, most of the time, mostly by workers. And, that is one thing that sites like Twitter do, and there are so many others too. They do bring people together with a common interest. And I wonder, there are probably many, many comments about what it's like to work. There have been through the pandemic, right? What it's like to work for companies that are just working you into the ground. And again, I do want to make a distinction between small businesses or even maybe medium-sized businesses. I do want to make a distinction there, because sometimes they're barely making it. So a little different, but it's still hard on the workers. But hard on the business owner too. So that's still tough. But yeah, these big corporations whose profits just keep going up and up and up and up. And the productivity goes up and up and up and up. But the wages go stagnant. The workers' conditions just deteriorate. So it looks like gradually we'll see improvement there, but it's more about, I gotta say, I think it's more about grassroots movements. I think it's more about changing culture, work culture. I think we're going to have employees It's an employee's market more. But then again, this is gradual, where the employees know what to ask. You know, how do you track my productivity? What are your productivity expectations? What are breaks like? How many hours a week do your workers tend to be on site? You know, questions like that. And they can ask those questions because the employers need them. Can I have flexibility? Yep. And if anybody's interviewing for jobs, get that stuff up front. It's harder to get once you're in there. Okay. Anyway, let's see. What else about that? I kind of want to know about the hospitality industry. Are we going to have a change in norms there? 10 of Swords. Yeah. Oh my gosh. There are so many hospitality workers who are like, I can't take it anymore. You could pay me anything. I'm not going back. All the swords that get flung at me, all the rude things, you know, people being downright abusive. And the Emperor. Right. And so also feeling like bosses are disapproving, not very, you know, with this card anyway, I would say bosses are part of the problem for a lot of people in the hospitality industry. Because again, there's these norms and the bosses are just like, well, customer's always right. You've got to do that. Hierophant. Interesting. More labor unions. I think there may be more labor unions coming in. That would be a human organization that would be helpful here. Interesting. So, yeah, this is something else. So I feel like hospitality workers get exploited a lot. Like fair labor laws get really bent. And there's a lot of practices that are downright illegal that are occurring too frequently. This is what I feel like I'm hearing. So the Hierophant could also be the government getting involved in that during Biden's term. Well, good. That would be good. See, that's just it too. Enforcement of the outdated fair labor laws we do have, at least hourly wage workers should be, the labor laws that we have should apply to them. But the enforcement is so spotty too. And like I said, they have to be updated. Will they be updated? Let me see. Judgment. There's going to be a lot more people saying over, you know, you're going to hear that a lot. They need to be. 10 of Cups. Ooh, I don't like that. The Senate doesn't let it go through. That's that family card. I always think of the family on Netflix, the, you know, conservative fellowship. Anyway, that raises up super conservative, big business friendly candidates for office. But we do have a little bit of good news with the Page of Cups. So there's that. Some things will be done, but it feels like this is more of a gradual thing. It may happen more just with industry because it is an employee's market more. So I want to know, does that continue? Does it continue? Do the employees continue to have some sort of benefit? 3 of Cups, I think so. During pandemic, I believe people were slowed down enough. Even if they were working, still they were at home in the after work. They were slowed down enough. They had enough time to think. They reevaluated their life choices. I always said in the past that, because I was in this circumstance too, that everybody's going so fast and they've got so much to do and you can't even stop to think about your life and about, there's not time for anything. You know, you can't even stop to think about, let me drop a budget and see how much I'm wasting because I'm going to work on vehicle, on transportation, perhaps childcare, perhaps, just all the inconveniences that come when people are really busy, too much takeout, not as much cooking from home. It just sometimes buying things rather than sticking close to a budget, because who has time to budget? There are a number of different ways your money just kind of flows out when you're overworked, too busy, too tired. It could cause health problems too, which are very costly. So I think there were a lot of people during the pandemic who could and can ask themselves, is it even worth it to go back? Is it even worth it? And what are they deciding? King of Wands. Well, they're deciding to demand more of the powers that be. Well, I think that means they would like to go back. They would like to go back, but they want it to be steady work. They want it to be steady. They want it to reliably increase their financial security. That's what the Knight of Coins does. They want it to be, steady and reasonable. So I think they do. They want to go back under the right conditions, though. So there's the issue. There's the rub. Okay. Anything else about this topic, Source? Magician. Some things are going to manifest. Because they have to. Ace of Cups. Oh, that means there's more sad stories about this than I even am aware of. That means there's even more shadiness than we've identified in the press, in the U.S. workers. So in other words, there's going to be more and more identification of the problems, challenging of the problems, voicing them. Yeah. Sometimes a lot of people, I feel like in our country, and maybe others as well, feel like they really do have to choose between their health and their job, because they can't be healthy working that job. Well, and there's a lot of fear involved in having computer programs track your productivity. And you've seen, because you've seen other employees get written up, get in trouble, get fired if they didn't keep their productivity expectation up. And how fearful how anxiety producing is that, right? And, we also see these employers, so many employers with zero loyalty. There's how many Amazon employees have said, yeah, I worked there for 6 years, 10 years. Always a great worker, always did well. 1 year, my mom got sick and I called in a bit more. Or 1 year, I got pregnant and my time off task was a little more, and I was out. So that kind of thing is very anxiety provoking for people too. Yeah, there's more than just the physical health issues. There are the mental health issues. Some jobs are just downright unworkable. I wonder if people are going to ask about organizations' rate of turnover, because that's always a very good question to ask in interviews. I don't know if organizations keep track, but is that something that they could be? The Five of Cups. Yeah, I don't know that you could get a lot of good information about that. Maybe it's more like you get regrets later once you get in the door. Well, okay, so that's about once you get in the door. If you find out they have a very high rate of turnover, you can leave. Really. Workers have to start thinking about, I don't know, if you're like me, you hate to quit. At so many jobs I've hung in there too long, way too long. And it never ever would occur to me to leave after I try something out for a couple weeks. But that's a mistake. I could think of at least one or two where I should have done just that. So, yeah. So that is something, if you do find out, I think that's saying a lot of more workers, if they find out after they get oriented, they find out a few things, that they are realizing means this is a bad place to work. They will go. There's There's a lot of complaints about that too, I remember. Workers just going, just leaving. Rage quitting. Or leaving and not giving 2 weeks notice. Or not showing up. Queen of Cups. It is more of an employee's market, so they're going to do more of that kind of thing. I mean, not that it's right, but you know, they're going to do more of that kind of thing if they can do that, and then the next day try a different job on. It's just the rules of supply and demand. So we kind of ride it out, you know. Oh, no, this is compassion. More compassion is wanted at workplaces. Employers, and this is good for the small businesses to know. A lot of people will work for small businesses and gladly, even if the pay is not that great or the small business can't pay them a lot, because there's kindness or there's fairness. So compassion, you know, they know that if they got sick or a family member got sick, they wouldn't be written up and this and that and productivity expectations, blah, blah, blah. So that is good. Yeah, that's good for small business owners to know. They can have an advantage if they have some compassion, if they're good leaders. Okay. Because, some people, they don't need to make a lot of money. They want to make a living at least, and maybe they have some resources to supplement that. Maybe they have a partner who's also working, or they're living with family, or there might be, but they need a decent place to work that won't wreck their health. Yeah, there it is again, compassion again. The Queen of Cups. Will big businesses start doing studies on how to be compassionate? Well, okay. I am seeing the trainings. I'm seeing the conferences, and it is cracking me up. So there will be conferences where supervisors go to learn how to be compassionate. I'm sorry. I don't know why this is just giving me, I'm just crazy today. I'm sorry, you guys. I was interrupted as I'm laughing. That's all right, because I was just thinking these poor supervisors too, because they're going to be given the message, do this little thing, do that little thing. They're going to be given the Band-Aids, and really the message then is work harder. Work harder, supervisors. Because obviously if you're not keeping workers, or we're not getting enough workers, you must not be working hard enough to make this a great place to work. So that's going to be its own kind of pain. But again, no welcome to come to the real higher ups and challenge some policies. And make some real policy changes. Maybe no permission to do that. But maybe I'm being too pessimistic. Gradually, I think I'm being a little too cynical. Gradually, I think cynicism is okay if realism is okay. Like, employees are not just going to be given these kinds of things. But gradually, things can indeed improve. And yes, there may be some policy changes that make jobs much more doable. That is very true. And in fact, you may see that like advertised. Sign-on bonuses are advertised. But what about advertising certain philosophies and back it up by certain policies, changes in policies? What about that to attract workers? I think that will happen. But of course, it's not going to be employers leading the way on that. No. Ace of Swords. This is inspired Ace of Wands. There's an opportunity right now for workers to have a bigger voice. King of Coins. There's a lot of money. We know there's a lot of money. Amazon. Oh my gosh, do they make money and not pay taxes? Yes, I know they pay their employees $15 an hour. Still not enough. And their policies are really tough. Really tough, especially if something happens to be going wrong in your life for a while, or health, family life. Yeah, so I suppose it varies a little depending upon who's your supervisor there, but then even the supervisors can do only so much. So I should ask, Eight of Cups. A lot of people going to be just going. A lot of people are just going to be going. There are going to be more people walking off the job. Not okay with it. What else should we know about this, Spirit? We have the Five of Swords. Corporate greed is not going to retreat easily. Greed and avarice. Isn't that something? Not gonna retreat easily. So that's why the Temperance Angel, gradually. That's why the Ace of Swords, we use our voices. We get together and use our voices. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I just do see a lot more people just coming into jobs, and when they see that it's not as advertised and there's this problem and that problem, the other problem with the policies, just leaving. Just saying, okay, I've changed my mind. I don't want this job. Oh, another problem, the do not compete clauses. A lot of companies are using now. Ridiculous things for industries that, where people don't really take their clients with them or their customers with them usually. And that's got to change. We have the Chariot, but it is time of great change. The pandemic did get people thinking, do I have to do this? Do I have to live like this? Or can I change it? There are certain circumstances that, no amount of money is worth going back into. Ten of Cups and families, right? People spent more time with their families during the pandemic and worked on relationship issues and had time to see how a super busy lifestyle can really be bad for everybody. Had time to see maybe what the kids really needed. Being so busy, it's too easy to just get from day to day and not ask yourself those larger questions. How am I raising the children the way I want to raise them? What do they need from me? Am I around enough? Is this a serious issue where I really should think about taking a big pay cut or working a lot fewer hours? Those kinds of questions were asked during pandemic by a lot of people. Yeah. And also a lot of people who had been downright traumatized at work by some of these anxiety-provoking policies. Do this, don't do this, you get written up and whatever, and fired too easy. A lot of people who were downright traumatized by those kinds of policies, maybe just they couldn't go back into work. I did see articles about people having panic attacks as they thought of going back there, and I can't do that. Two of Coins, balancing the budget, maybe, people are able to do a little more work to figure out how to do that with a little less. Three of Swords, they were able to identify, and when they gather together on certain social media platforms, they're able to give each other language for what's wrong. So it looks to me like change is afoot. It's gradual, coming from the bottom up, but it's change. All right. Well, take care, everybody. Take care in your work. If you work, enjoy your free time. And for those of you who are retired, maybe you're more glad you're retired after you listen to this video. Bless you all. Take care. Bye-bye.